Hey,
coming to you from the podcast studio.
it's not fair when you get to look that good and I don't.
I know. We got our blue lights up now, so I'm very excited. Just need a couple key lights and then we're ready to go. So I'll look brighter next time around.
Okay, I'm just gonna have to go up to the studio just for Wednesdays, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you'll be up here soon enough, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So again, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're watching or listening to us. And we're making some renos. We're doing some fixing up, some backgrounds. I think it's interesting how people kind of just go into their space and they go, okay, wherever I end up being, they just kind of plop their computer and they don't think about the background.
And and sometimes it can be distracting. So if the monkey man is distracting you, good, because we like him.
I love him.
But sometimes you just want to change things up, right? You just feel like I need a change because I don't feel this space anymore. Doesn't mean you need. So let's get something clear. Just because you don't have this fabulous background doesn't mean you don't have to do stuff, right?
This is
Like
true.
it doesn't matter. Do it anywhere you want. Do it outside. Do it in your bedroom. Just don't do it in your bathroom. I hate those ones.
No, don't do that. I remember I've told you I had a podcast client that used to record in her bathroom and they could never use the video.
Right.
And the audio was terrible. So there was just nothing good about it. But she said it was the only space in her house, because it was during COVID, that nobody would bother her.
No, you can use your closet.
That's what I said. I'd rather you go into a closet and smush your way through the clothes than...
Actually, it's a really great sound, right? So we like that a lot. But so it really is. I mean, we're all about changing things up when you need to change things up, right? And
it's just nice when you can just literally hop behind your desk and go on video versus, because I think that's what holds people back, is that they're like, well, hang on, I have to get all this stuff ready. I have to prepare my space. I have to do this, have to do that. No. So if you do it ahead of time, you know a space that you know is going to work, then it becomes so much easier to literally hop on the mic.
Yeah, because the last thing that you want to do is set up camera and set up your microphone. And, like I said, I don't have the proper key lights in this new environment, but that's okay. It's fine. We make do, right?
Yeah.
So exactly. I do have lots of lights. It's just not the right key light to focus in on, but I do have blue lights.
Yeah,
so, so it's good. But there's lots of people, like I know people that I really like their information and you can see them filming in their bedroom. And if you live in somewhere like New York where you have a teeny tiny little apartment and all you have is a little desk in your bedroom, that's where you're going to film. So when you're doing that, just make your bed.
Please. Public service announcement. We don't want to see laundry. Beds unmade.
I don't want to know what brand of sheet you are sleeping on. So unless you're selling sheets,
that's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
Or teaching tutorials on how to fold sheets or how to make your bed with hospital corners, like all good.
But I'm finding what's really interesting right now is I think people, we went from, because we were in COVID and everyone decided to do a vlog or a podcast or whatever, and they were filming anywhere and no one cared what they wore and blah, blah, blah. And now people are like going, wait a minute, COVID's gone, right? I want to see that you're at least putting in a little bit of effort, right? And I think people are understanding that they want to get the information all different ways now. And so, we talk a lot about whether you're going to do an audio, a video, a transcript, a PDF, whatever. You need to be able to do everything now. And because everybody learns differently, everyone has access differently. People are a little bit tired of videos, just constant videos. But now with the advent of transcriptions and audios and stuff, things are getting to be able to be consumed any way somebody wants.
Absolutely. And we've talked, many times about the fact that, again, we do this video once a week, and then we repurpose it into, it goes onto our YouTube channel. We pull an article from this shorts and clips and tweets and social media posts and all kinds of different things, all this one video. And it was very interesting because I had there's this one production company, podcast company that I've been following, and I get their newsletter whenever they put one out, and I read it because they're always interesting pieces of news from the podcast industry. But she was a self-proclaimed, she's like, a podcast is a podcast. Do not do a podcast and a video. Do not put your video out. A podcast is a podcast. Record as a podcast, all of that kind of stuff. It is a solo hang on. It was very interesting. This morning, she sends an email out and says, I'm a podcast, I don't know whether she said purist or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Now I get it. And her, for years, she's been doing audio only, podcast only. If you're going to do a podcast, do a podcast. Don't, try to work it into all of your other stuff. And she finally said this morning, I should quote it. It was so interesting because she's like, you have to be on YouTube. And I'm like, welcome to the party.
Yeah.
Finally, it makes no sense that she was always promoting that. Well, I just felt like literally writing her back saying, welcome to the party. You finally caught up after you've been saying this for 5 years.
Well, isn't it sad that she's been, doing these forever, 5 years, whatever it is. She has all these episodes and she has no clips or anything she can use for social media.
And she's a production company. So this is what she does for clients. She's a podcast producer and she's not encouraging her clients to do. We're like, don't just do audio. Do
anything, everything.
As well.
And here's the thing. You don't have to use your video. If you don't like to be on video and you like to be a podcast purist and only do audio, cool, go ahead. But just do it anyway. Film it anyway. It's not going to take any more effort, right? If you're just doing it anyway. And who knows, maybe down the road, if she had thought about it a couple of years ago, she could actually use some of her biggest episodes and she would have clips of it to use on social media, or somebody that's a visual learner, right?
Or a promotion or advertising to be able to showcase, throwbacks or even a clip. Even if you're like, okay, I don't want to put this entire episode out on YouTube. Well, now clips are so easy to generate. Information is so easy to generate, to get out there. So just imagine what you would have, even if you don't use them right away.
And I think, it's great for people that can listen to full podcasts, long ones. I know people that are in trades do it a lot because they're working with their hands. They have their headset on. They can listen. But for most of us, we can only listen to clips. And then when we hear a clip, then we move over and go, okay, I want to listen to the entire episode or whatever when I have time. But if you're just, if you think that everyone has 45, an hour, I feel like I listen to, Joe Rogan is one of the biggest, I think the biggest podcast. I feel like I listen to Joe. I don't. I only watch his clips on YouTube.
Right.
So, and then occasionally when he has a good guest, I go, well, that's an interesting topic. And then I'll go and listen to it. But most of the time I don't. And the only time I listen to full podcasts is when I'm in the car and I have a long journey ahead of me.
Well, absolutely. But then you already kind of know from the clips of who you want to listen to, what episode to search for, that kind of stuff. And then there's times, again, where I want to just scan through an article to get the key points, or I want to read a summary of it and not, necessarily listen to all the words, or at least on fast. Because some people talk too slow for me and I want them to speed them up. And I like that button.
Most people talk too slow. So, and I think things, everyone's changing. We have volumes of information out there. And, now it's kind of, this morning I had heard something on the news, and the premier of our province was doing a speech, and I don't listen to any of that stuff. But here's how forward I am in terms of AI and getting clips and everything. I was driving in the car, and I'm forgetting that Siri isn't completely AI yet, not till the fall. And so I said, hey, Siri, can you give me a summary of what Premier Ford said this morning? And She couldn't, because that's not fully integrated into Siri yet.
Right.
But here's the thing. I saw a little clip on the TV as I was leaving. I saw a clip, right? And I wanted to hear more, but I didn't want to hear the whole thing. I just wanted the summary, right? So that is where we are going as a society. We are getting quicker and quicker. We want the summaries. We want, we want the 20-minute version, not the 4-hour version. And here's the thing. It doesn't mean 4 hours isn't necessarily better. No. It's kind of like all the book summaries, right? All the book summary people out there, there's a lot of them. I have about 3 or 4 of them. So, and that's how I read my development books. Not necessarily, I don't do novels like that, obviously, but I like to be able to get that key information very quickly, so that I don't have a lot of time to waste on what I call filler words. And then so I can now go back and go, I really liked this summary. Maybe I'll dive deeper now and read everything, the examples, the case studies, you name it. But at least that gives you a really clear information. For those of you who listen to us or watch Hot Topics, we have clips going out every week. We have a full summary. We have a blog post. We have a newsletter, all going out to what we are talking about today. So if you're interested in what we're saying, you'll be like, maybe I'll listen to the entire episode, podcast version, whatever you want to call it. We need to we have to figure out a name for this.
Exactly. Because, and I think it's an interesting switch from, again, last year when, people would think, oh, well, the summaries, it's not giving all of the information. I want to consume the whole thing. Well, no, we've shifted to actually that summary becomes almost like a mini advertisement for the full episode. I mean, you said earlier, I'll listen to the clip. And, oh, that sounds like a really cool guest. Now I'll listen over here. So this is what we're checking out first. The summaries, the clips, the YouTube shorts, the reels, the TikToks, whatever that is, we're checking that out first. Then it's if that's of interest. So you have to catch our attention in today's world, hour meaning the global hour, really quickly. So that's where the advantage is. And now, like you said, if I want to dive in, or now if I want to listen to more, I'm now willing to give you my time, but I'm not going to dive into a potential 30, 45-minute episode without checking that out first, because I feel like I'm going to kind of get in and I'm going to be like, this really wasn't what I was hoping for. Yeah. And if the clips are good, you're going to attract them. If they're not, then you're not going to attract them. So,
and think about it as, the movie industry's been doing it for years. It's called trailers.
Yes.
And a trailer is a preview, for those of you who don't know that term. It is a preview of the movie and what happens when you used to go into movie theaters. I don't know if it's the same because I don't really go to movies much anymore, stream everything. But when you go to the movie theaters, part of the exciting piece of going to a movie theater was watching 5 or 6 trailers before the movie to see what was exciting and did you want to see that. And, you could tell a lot. Sometimes you would watch and go, yeah, that's not for me. And then other times you'd be like, I'm in. That looks great. Right.
Well, and so I remember watching a movie like, oh, I'm like writing all this stuff down. I'm like, that looks like a really good trailer. What you don't want is the trailer to be the only good thing in the movie, right? That's why you need to create multiple clips. So you have the opportunity to grab somebody's attention. Like one particular clip might grab my attention, but a completely different clip might grab your attention. Yeah. We just don't want that to be the only thing that's good in the episode. It's like, okay, I'm going to give them like the trailer. I've seen those, right? They put a trailer in a movie and then it's like, well, you got me with the trailer, but that was the only good stuff. So we're hoping that doesn't happen at all. But I did want to give one piece of information in regards to podcasts. We're having that conversation. Just that, and speaking of integration with YouTube and all of that kind of stuff, that Google Podcast Manager is actually going away. So I just wanted to make sure that people knew that if you do have your own self-hosted out there and you're managing it through Google Podcast Manager, it is going away as of July the 29th. You will still have access to your episodes, but you won't be able to actually log into the Google Podcast Manager anymore. They are actually integrating with YouTube. So what they say is that if you want to bring your podcast over to YouTube, then you have to resubmit that RSS feed, and you are no longer able to access that through Google Podcasts, which is an interesting move when you talk about the fact that we've been, saying like you need to get your information out on YouTube. Well, now they're forcing it because that's going to be the only place you're going to be able to find both audio and video in the Google world.
Which is great. I mean, it does. I mean, that is how people are going. So I think if you're not comfortable being on camera, get comfortable. It doesn't have to be perfect, like we said. And it doesn't have to, you don't have to show full, episodes. However, if your information is good, people don't care if you're not, perfect in your camera. It's not about that. It's about the audio, right? The audio has to be good because the audio is what's distracting, not the video, right?
Exactly.
Unless, of course, you have that unmade bed in the background, which we've seen.
Or just a really
times.
distracting background, right? In videos in general. And the other thing is when you're thinking about the video and the clips and all of that kind of stuff. And actually, I was watching a girl the other day, and she actually gave a really good tip. If you're recording on your phone, is actually to use the grid. So if you think about the fact that in clips, you need to chop. So basically, if you think of the way you and I are right now, we're horizontal. And in the clip, we will be vertical. So you'll be cutting out all this extra space right here. And she actually turned the grid on her phone when she was doing the video. So it's like anything kind of outside of those two sides are not going to be seen in the clip. So make sure that your middle part is really good. So I just thought that was a really cool kind of hack that I never thought of, is because I don't really like grid lines. But now I'm like, okay, you know what? If I was recording on my phone, I would use the grid lines. For that.
No,
so
I think
really smart.
I think all those things are important. And it's so we don't want to scare people though, right? Like you don't have to know everything. You just have to go out there and try some things and just play. That's the goal, is just now with the advent of AI, you just need to play and then find what you want to do, how you like to do things. I mean, it is changing so rapidly. We're doing an AI mastermind that we do every single week for 12 weeks, I think it is. And I literally can't do it before because the day before it changes. And I'm, sometimes I'm looking now at things that I did in, the first module that are already outdated. Right. So that's why you continually have to play. So podcasting is going to change. Video is going to change. Transcriptions and clips and everything else is going to change. Every time you turn around, there's a new cool tool that you can use that will save you time and effort and be able to help you get out there. So the goal is really just to play. You do not have to be an expert at all. You have to be an expert in what you're talking about.
For sure. I mean, but there's a difference between knowing your topic, and you should, before you start talking, absolutely know what you're going to say. And I'm a big planner. So, planning ahead, that kind of stuff. But when it comes to the technology, I feel like that's kind of what holds people back. And I think that's where the playing comes in. Play, record a few seconds. That's what I've done. I tried a program out the other day and I just started talking randomly. And it was interesting how it summarized what we were talking about really, really well. Yeah. So I wanted to test out that tool, but that was part of playing with the recording. We always said, go around your house with your phone. Where's the best lighting? Where's the best recording? Use different mics, play around to see what works for you and what you like and what you feel comfortable with. Then you'll be more inclined to do more videos and put out more content and that kind of stuff, rather than having that hold you back. There really isn't a reason to hold you back anymore.
But there's also, I really believe in playing with ideas as well and playing with what you're talking about, because, sometimes, we have a conversation with somebody and you're your stuff and you're really well versed. And then when you get on camera, you freeze, right? And you try to change your mannerisms and you try to change what you're talking about. So again, play with that as well. Like approach the exact same topic in 3 different ways and then watch the video or listen to the audio back and say which one was the most appealing, dead on, like gave us the most information. Have somebody else review it, have somebody else look at it and go, yeah, you know what, you got to the point here, I really liked it. And then you can start understanding maybe that's why you don't necessarily want to go on camera, because you really haven't played with what aspects you like to talk about or what you like to make sure you present. And everyone's different. Yeah. So sometimes you just have to, feel your way around. So there's no reason that you can't change it too. There's so many people, as you know, Stacy, that have an intro to their podcast or an outro, and then they've done maybe 5 or 6 episodes and they realize that they're going kind of in a little different direction, right? Okay, then change it. Change your intro. Don't keep in that way because you thought that was your podcast. That's the way you want it to go. And then you realize that really isn't your way. Cool, change it.
Exactly. I think that's such an interesting concept, that people feel like they have to stay within the box that they've created.
Yeah.
And you don't. You can change it. It's so easy to change things right now. It's like, well, I've already said that, therefore I can't alter it. But that also goes with playing. So play around. That's why when people start doing podcasts, I'm like, have you ever recorded before? Right? Have you ever just kind of started talking on your own? Because it's easy to have a conversation, to play off what other people say. That's why interview style podcasts are so popular, because it's easier. So have you actually, you and the mic for 10, 15 minutes started talking? Do that. Play around. Maybe, you kind of feel inclined to do things a little bit differently or say things in a different way. And that kind of changes the vibe, which might change the trajectory of how your intro and outro.
And I would say that you have a different vibe when you have headphones on and you're just talking than if you're on video.
Yeah.
There is a completely different vibe. So if you think you can just turn the camera on, sometimes you don't even know that you're reacting differently. So you have to figure it out. And, we just talked about change and, your podcast, the person you were saying that, changed after 5 years. Well, look, that she changed, and like the earth didn't, swallow her up and spit her out or anything. It just she changed. That's what you do. That is life. You learn, you grow, you change. That's it, right?
With technology.
Think about what you thought about when you were 19. You probably are a very different person, right? So that means you might be a different person. Now things are speeding up. So in 6 months from now, you might have a completely different perspective of anything, on life, on business, on wellness, on relationships, you name it. And it all comes down from your experience, right? So same thing with technology. If as technology changes, you might have been incredibly fearful of doing any of this stuff. And then you find a tool that's so easy for you. And all of a sudden you love it. You're like, I'm a podcaster, I'm a vlogger, I'm a video, so.
True.
It's true, because when you're stuck in a tool that you don't like, you're not going to do it.
Exactly. And I think that's the advantage, is not only are we're consuming content so much faster, so sort of at that rapid pace, and therefore our ideas, concepts, all of that are changing as well, because we're exposed to so much more now. And with so many different tools out there, we're also exposed to different ways of doing things. So just because it worked one day yesterday and you're like, oh, with this program I'm not really loving anymore, but I've already bought it, I've already invested in it. No, change, right? Change to something else, because there's so many options out there. And if it takes you 3 hours to do one task, I guarantee you there's a program out there that probably can get it done in like 10 minutes.
Well, I was working on a module for our mastermind, for AI mastermind. And so I was logging in to some older things that I haven't logged into in a long time. And there was one that I was like, wow, that's really changed. It's kind of cool. And then there was one that I used to like, and I logged in and they haven't changed. And I don't like it anymore because I realized that, no, it was cool. it was really cool when it came out because there's nothing like it. And now it's kind of like, oh, like they just kind of sat back and said, yeah, we're fine. And no, 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 you have to change, right? You have to
Yeah.
change and see what else you can come up with. So,
Well, because people
interesting.
will just move. People will
Yep.
just change what they're using. So if your program doesn't do what we need it to do in today's world, you're done.
And it's the same with your content. If you are, if you're interviewing people, if that's your thing on a certain topic, right? And you always, okay, so for those of you guys, I apologize if you're one of these people, which I hate, the ones that ask the same question every single podcast to every single guest. I hate that. Sorry. But it gets really boring after a while. So at first it's kind of, everyone thinks, oh, that's interesting because, you're interested in the topic, right? You're in that podcast because you're interested in the topic. Then after a while, you're like, can't you come up with another question? Like, do we have to listen to the same damn question every time? Sorry, I know a lot of you guys do that. I apologize, but I'm not your listener.
Exactly. And that's okay. And I think what ends up happening, and we've talked about this before, is the difference between having a guest on your show and interviewing a guest.
Right.
There's a difference. And there's a difference between having a conversation with somebody and having a scripted list of questions that you're going to ask in an interview style, because there's ones that are, thank you for that answer. My next question is, I could get a robot or an AI avatar, now we call it, to do that, because they could wait until you're finished answering the question. They could pop in with the next question because there is no conversation. So you could pre-record, like I could send you the list of questions and you could just answer those questions and I could populate it without ever having to talk to you. That's not a conversation.
No, there's someone's got a celebrity on Sirius XM has a interview show. At the end of it, they ask the same questions of their guests, their celebrities. And I listened to it like 2 or 3 times and I found it really boring afterwards because it was kind of like, I understand the concept, but it's kind of like you need to add more freshness and stuff. That's, I think, I don't know. Maybe you guys can tell me, DM me, let me know. Maybe I'm wrong, but do you really want to listen to the same thing all the time? I know it's other people's perspective, but it's not like earth shattering. Like, what's your, take on some controversial topic? That's a little different. But when it's the same kind of boring question, I'm like, yeah, you know what? I have so many options to look at right now, or to read, or to do. And I would rather do it. And who am I going to go to? I'm going to go to, we'll kind of bring it back to the beginning of what we started talking about. I'm going to go to the person that feeds me in every single form so that I can get the content how I want, when I want.
Exactly.
So,
even if it's the same conversation, I'm going to listen to it on on the YouTube channel. I'm going to read a blog. I'm going to read the summary, maybe even, the transcript. I'm going to, I don't know, read their posts because it's, little bits. I'm going to watch a quick clip to see if it's something a topic that I'm interested in.